Trying to be quiet. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast, where we believe most high net worth individuals and their professional teams struggle to find great capital gains tax deferral options. Not having a clear plan is the enemy. Using a proven tax deferral strategy such as the Deferred Sales Trust is the best way to exit highly appreciated assets tax deferred so you can create, preserve, and grow your wealth. I'm your co-host, Pearson York, filling in for Brett Swarts. In each episode, I'm joined by some of the best wealth, business, real estate, and leadership individuals in the world to share ideas, deals, stories, and inspiration, so together we can make complex tax deferral strategies simple and passive income plans achievable. As always, we're streaming on expertcresecrets.com, the Capital Gains Tax Solutions YouTube channel, and the Kingdom Luxury Realty Facebook channel. So please rate, review, subscribe, like, comment, share, all that good stuff for the interweb algorithms and all that fun stuff. Our next guest, I'm real excited about. He is an experienced real estate investor, gone hard money lender just because of too much of a good thing, too much money, and he had to figure out how to make it work for him. And so I'm real excited to talk to our new friend here, Derek Dombeck. Derek, how you doing, man?
I'm fantastic. Thanks for having me on.
Awesome, man. Well, hey, listen, so tell us your story. How'd you get to where you are?
Well, it all started in a little town in the middle of redneck central Wisconsin. I'm just born and raised in Wisconsin and started out as a construction worker, essentially. And in my mid-20s, my wife and I started buying some fixer-upper rental properties, like a lot of people. Took some education, went through some different trainings and seminars, but primarily we were using banks for everything that we did. And we were pretty successful. We thought we built up a pretty nice portfolio from 2004 until 2007. And 2007 hit. We quickly realized we had no control over our business. The banks owned us. They controlled us. The valuations in our portfolio plummeted. And short version of a long story is we lost damn near everything. And we had two options: either quit or get creative, learn how to do different deal structuring. And that led us to having to learn how to negotiate and talk to people. I feel differently than most. And when we got through the turmoil, we were starting to build back. And I met my current business partner about 10, 11 years ago. His name is Jeff. Jeff had never used a bank to buy any investment property ever, which intrigued me a lot, especially given the fact that I had shitty credit, bankruptcy and foreclosures on my credit. It intrigued me. But the other side of that is he had already dabbled a little bit in the lending space. And our conversations, like I was trained or taught to, success would be when I had 100 rental units or doors, cash flowing $100 a door, making $10,000 a month. Like that sales pitch from the early 2000s, which ironically has not changed. I still hear the same sales pitch today, 20 years later, with the same numbers, which is a little scary.
Right.
But yeah, when Jeff and I started, we were buying and selling and flipping properties and holding some as rentals, but doing it only with private capital that we raised, and got to a point where we had just more capital available than we had deals. And we had embraced our position in the local market as being leaders and educators. So we had people that had money, we had people that needed money, and we started facilitating or playing monkey in the middle to put loans together as kind of a side gig back then. But that parlayed into what is today 20 to 25 loans going out the door a month, and several $1 million a month in loans, all still with private capital. We do not use any institutions. I'll never say I'll never do it, but right now I don't foresee it. I much rather deal with a person than a hedge fund or an institution or somebody that can, take and wipe us out if they decide to.
Absolutely. Awesome. Okay. So, interesting story, a lot to dive in there and unpack. But first, what are one or two strengths or spiritual gifts that you have that have led you to be successful today?
I think my business partner and I, we have very different backgrounds as far as, I was a construction worker, he was IT, but where we came together and we focus on with our staff as well is the ethics and the morals and everything literally is done to help the client, the customer, the home seller, the home buyer, whatever it is. We'd never focus on us. And I feel like that's pretty rare. I mean, people can say that, but to actually live it and do it are two different things. We've got the track record, and
Totally.
I always want to have that individual's, their goals at heart.
Yeah. Awesome. So putting the client first truly is really where you guys excel. Awesome. All right. Let's get into this whole idea of private lending versus institutional lending and why it's so much better to go private, or is it better? It seems you guys seem to think so. So let's make the case.
So the case would be, I can talk to you if you're my private investor and the markets shift. We may have to change our exit strategy. We may not be able to flip that property. Now we might have to rent it out. It may have a negative cash flow, or maybe we're going to furnish it and turn it into a VRBO, Airbnb scenario. But I can have that conversation with a private individual. I can try and have that conversation with an institution. A lot of hard money lenders, in fact, they'll sell your loan before the ink is even dry. And if they do a 6-month, 12-month loan and they sell it off to Wall Street or to a hedge fund, and you run into a problem with your project, and there's many, many problems that pop up, right? Contractor issues, supply shortages, market changes, it doesn't sell. Once they've sold that paper, there's nobody for you to talk to at that institution that's going to really care. And you're going to get notified with a foreclosure filing, and you're going to lose the property. So to me, now institutions clearly can get you better interest rates. And if you're shopping based on rates, I don't even try and compete. If you're shopping based on customer service and somebody that wants to work with you as a team member more than your superior who looks down their nose at you across from their fancy oak desk, I'm a little biased because I got my ass kicked and I don't blame the banking industry. I blame myself. I didn't educate myself. So it's not the banking industry at all. But I absolutely love that I can work with individuals and change their lives. A lot of our investors were mom and pop who had their money sitting in an IRA making 0.5%. Now they're getting 9%. So we've been able to change a lot of people's lives in that regard.
Yeah, interesting. So one of the questions that I think kind of consistently pops up with someone who's either got looking for a new investor, or someone who's even been in for a long time that doesn't have a relationship with a private lender. From a lender's perspective, right? What do you guys look for people to partner with, where we can get those terms, maybe get those a little bit lower, build that relationship that really can help to kind of vertically integrate the lending side of the real estate investment with our business models?
So you're talking about the borrower, right? What they can do.
Right.
Okay. So it's always the same story from the borrower. They never want to take responsibility for anything that goes wrong in the project. So what I see sets somebody apart is when they come to us and say, you know what, Derek, Jeff, this project went sideways. We contractor ran off with the money. The house was broken into and all the material was stolen. All of these things, if they come up and they say, I have a plan and this is how we're going to remedy the situation, that sets them apart from the person that says, feel sorry for me, all this stuff happened and it's not my fault. So I'm good. Now, the next time that person comes back to us for a loan that tried blaming the rest of the world versus the one that took responsibility, shit happens to all of us on projects all the time. So to me, it's that integrity. It's how do they handle the negatives? In our company, we have a no assholes policy. That's literally how it's written in our employee manual. And it's there for our investors. I'm always raising capital. I always want to raise capital. I don't want to deal with somebody that's going to be hard to deal with. If we're lending money, I don't want to lend to somebody that's going to be hard to deal with because there are going to be challenges. That is the nature of our business. So if they're going to stop answering the phone, stop interacting with us at all, hide, anything like that, as a listener to your show, this is not what a lender wants you to do. And that seems like it's common sense, but yet many people do that. They don't take responsibility for their actions, whether it was their fault or not, doesn't matter. You're the person that signed on the dotted line for that loan, for that interaction. You are ultimately responsible, and you gotta do what you gotta do. So
take ownership.
That sets them apart. Take ownership for sure.
Take ownership. Have a plan when things go sideways, because they will. How about getting to that point, right? Like, I'll see a lot of people try and get loans. They don't have maybe the best credit. They don't have, I don't know. I'll deal with this a lot as someone who like sells property, right?
Mm-hmm.
People say they've been in business for 30 years, right? And then their REO schedule looks like they have 4 properties over these 30 years, right? How do you put together a compelling package that kind of seamlessly flows through the underwriting situation for you guys?
When we have people approach us that have no experience or little experience, because we do have criteria that says you have to have experience, but everybody needs to start somewhere. So we will take it upon ourselves in our lending area of Wisconsin to partner them with a mentor or somebody that, and we don't care how they do the partnership, like if they're going to actually split proceeds or if we're, just going to just help each other out. But we want to see this newer person being advised by somebody that's got experience, that somebody that we know has experience. Otherwise, to just start out from scratch, if they've got zero money, zero credit, zero experience, they're going to get zero loan. There's got to be some way to secure your lender. Now, that might be additional collateral. That might be, in the banking world, they'll tell you, well, go have your parents co-sign. It's not the same in our world, right? We're looking at assets. We're an asset-based lender. We don't even look at credit. I mean, we look at it, but it's not a criteria that we care about, because as an asset-based lender, if you get hit by a bus the day after you sign the loan, your personal guarantee just died. We want to know that we can take the asset back and get our money back. That's the whole point of asset-based lending.
Yeah.
So you'd want, you actually would be better off, instead of having your parents co-sign who have never done a flip in their life or have never had a rental property in their life. We would prefer you go and have, somebody that's from your local real estate investor association club that's got experience, or, a mentor, right? That's going to have more weight with us than some random mom or dad stranger that doesn't know what they're doing either.
Okay. All right. Interesting. So let's talk about on the flip side, right? Let's say you got capital.
Mm-hmm.
How do you private lender? Didn't you write a book on this?
I am currently writing a book on it, and the title is to be determined. So right now, I was approached and decided to write this book because we get this question so often, and it's really designed to be start to finish. How do you take in the application? How do you underwrite everything? What's the every step along the way? How do you vet the deal? How do you vet the borrower? How do you run the valuations? Do you get appraisals? Do you get BPOs? All these things, start to finish. And full disclosure, the book is kind of written to a certain degree to scare away the weak, because there is a lot of stuff. I'll tell you a quick story. I had friends of mine that were pretty new in the business, and they came to me one day and they said, "Hey, we bought this flip." And I said, "Well, how did you fund it?" He said, "Well, our uncle gave us the money." And I said, "What do you mean he gave you the money?" He said, "Yeah, he's only charging us like 2%, and we'll just pay him back when we sell the house." And I said, "Okay, fantastic. Did you protect your uncle?" And they're like, "What do you mean?" There's no mortgage in place. There's no note in place. There's no property insurance naming the uncle, as a a mortgagee or a mortgagor in case the place burns to the ground. What if they get sued and they get a lawsuit? So they have an unencumbered, free and clear property that their uncle gave them a whole bunch of money on because of their family, and they did nothing to protect their uncle. So there's a lot of things that people don't know about or consider in how to actually protect themselves if they're the lender, or to protect their lender if they are the borrower. And you should want to protect your lender if you're trying to, cultivate and grow a long-term relationship with a private lender. I don't care if you do lose $20,000, $30,000 on a deal. You should make your lender whole every time, no matter what it takes, because that is the lifeblood of your business. And we tell our borrowers all the time, you are our second highest priority. Our first highest priority is our investors, because without them, we can't lend to you.
Right.
And, we're very blunt about it. So, yeah, I'd love to give that book away to your audience. It's not published yet. We're working on it. It's going to come out November, December. And so we'll have some contact information for you to just shoot me an email, and we'll throw you on that list and send it off to you.
And that's Derek at bestreifunding.com, correct?
Correct. Yep. Perfect. Just
Okay.
email and
DEREK at bestreifunding.com. Email, and he will put you on the list for the free ebook. Title to be determined, but essentially how to be a private lender, how to protect yourself, how to make sure that you absolutely crush it and don't get crushed.
That's a fact.
Cool. Yep. You also got a live event in Cancun you were telling me about.
Yeah. So we took over a conference, I guess I'll say, that we had attended for years, and we've made it our own. It used to be held on a cruise ship, and ultimately I'd like to get it back on a cruise ship because of logistics of hosting an event on land is brutal. But it's called the Generations of Wealth for a reason. The premise is this is an advanced strategies 5-day conference. We have speakers that come in. They present from 9 until 1 each day. They're not selling anything. They're not pitching anything. So it's pure content education. And then from 1 until the evening, it's just open networking time. It's time to get to know everybody else and build that relationship and that network with people from all over the country. And then we come back in the evenings with just a more interactive town hall session, totally optional. A bunch of people come, some don't. But it's going to be in Cancun, tail end of February 2023. I'd give you the dates, but I don't want to screw them up. So it's just easier to go to the website. And, this is why I have a wife who I call upper management. She keeps me on track where I'm supposed to be when. But the thing that makes me super proud about this conference is we encourage you to bring your kids, and especially 10 and older. We don't charge you anything to bring your kids. We'd love for them to sit in on the sessions, even though these are advanced strategies. A lot of the kids have sat in on the sessions. And the goal there is to have your kids and my kids build a network while they're in their teenage years of people from all over the country who have parents that are freaks like us, that just don't do things the way most people or kids are taught. And it's self-serving for me and my family because I get to meet everybody and I get all these relationships, and I love that. But it's so cool to see what my kids have been able to do at 16, 11, and 5 are the ages of my 3.
Yep.
And to see their network. So GOWvoyage.com is how you find out about it, how you find it, get registered. It is going to be a limited event, only to the degree that I've contracted a certain number of rooms at this all-inclusive resort. And once I fill that block, they may release more if they have them available, but I can't guarantee it. And, I've contracted what I'm comfortable guaranteeing.
Yep.
And we'll see where it goes after that.
Yeah, it sounds like an amazing event, an amazing idea. I love the fact that you can bring your kids. It's interesting. I have 3 myself, 4, 2, and 8 months.
Jesus, you don't get
all
any...
girls. Yeah, they're super cute though. But the other day, we actually put them out on the. We live in Newport Beach, and we put them out on the boardwalk with a lemonade stand. They brought in $140 in like 45 minutes. People were literally just giving them like capital just because they're super cute. And I watched my 4-year-old. It was amazing because this one guy like passed her and she's like, "Hi, like how are you today?" And he's like, "Good." And she's like, "Do you want to buy some lemonade?" And he's like, "No, that's okay." And she's like, "Okay, regular or raspberry?" And I was watching from a distance and I was like, wow, like that was really smooth. And he's like, okay, I'll take regular. And he's like, how much? And she's like, well, whatever you want. And I was just like, dang, I watched him put $10 in that thing for a glass of lemonade, which, granted, it's $10, right? And today's inflation, it's really a quarter, right? Or whatever it is, right? But at the same time, like, it's so important to get your kids involved in these entrepreneurial type things and get them out of the rat race of, hey, go to school, get institutionalized, go get a 9-to-5 jobs, give all your money to the bank and let them do whatever they want with it. Right. Yeah. And then you rely on the government for all of your, your needs and everything. And they're going to take care of you instead of this idea of, hey, let's go out and let's find private capital, right? Let's get creative. Let's use infinite banking strategies. Let's use strategies like the Deferred Sales Trust to defer your tax, right? And then reinvest those funds when it makes sense. Let's give you the control of the timing, right? Let's give you in control of the asset class you reinvest into. And so it's like all of these different like aspects and advanced strategies. I think it's brilliant. So I'm actually going to go check that out. And in fact, I wouldn't even mind dropping our Deferred Sales Trust strategy up there as one of your speakers. We'll have to talk maybe a little bit more about that, but
absolutely. You've got my number, and I am currently, I've got a couple spots open for speakers. So if that's something that you want to discuss, we should discuss that sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
But I love it because what you're talking about in the deferred tax, solutions, just the way you talk about it and you're passionate about it is the same way that we're passionate about helping our clients and our investors. It's all about trying to get them to have more in their life, whether they know it or not. And in most cases they don't, they're getting set up for failure. And I just love, anytime that I meet somebody like you guys that are passionate about it, it shows. And that's why we're successful. I mean, I've built it up, lost it, and built it up again. And if I lost it again, I know how I would restart. But it's always about having, put people first. So.
Yeah, no, definitely. And it's it's an amazing. I think it's an amazing thing when you actually take the needs of other people and put them above yourself. It's a servant leadership role, and I think that I don't want to say it's dead, but I think it's rare.
It's dying. It's dying.
Yeah. So, anyways, okay. So, just a few more things, and I know we're coming up on our time here, so we'll make sure to get you out of here on time, but I want to get you into the lightning round. So, you ready for this?
Sure.
All right. So, what is your favorite leadership quote?
Oh, I should have studied for this lightning round. My favorite leadership quote would be an unknown quote. It says, "You only lose if you quit trying."
Nice. Okay. What is your favorite book besides an unnamed title, How to Be a Private Lender by Derek Domenech?
I'm passionate about talking to people, negotiating with people. I love Orrin Claff's book, Pitch Anything, and his follow-up book is equally
Flip
as
the
good.
Script.
Flip the Script. You
Great book.
should listen to or read Pitch Anything before you read the other one. Don't go the other way around. But
I totally went the other way around.
did you?
I did. In fact, I have never even read Pitch Anything. I've only read Flip the Script.
Oh, you should read.
I have to go back.
It's so important to know how to frame control and how to lead conversations without manipulating people.
Yeah.
But it was huge. And I've studied a lot of different sales and negotiation books over the years. That one definitely had the biggest impact on me.
Interesting. Okay. What are you most curious about right now?
I'm most curious about what happens with our next generation. The 20 and 30-year-olds, I feel are set up for failure to a certain degree. I just do. And I know I'm in my 40s, so I'm in that generation of, we still got our asses beat when we did something wrong, and we didn't get participation ribbons for anything. And I think that is a lot to do with the quitters mentality that a lot of people have now. And I'm not trying to judge anybody. It's just a fact as I see it. When parents have to both work and nobody's at home, to raise the children, they're raised by daycare, it's going to affect the family. And I'm very passionate about my wife and I and our kids being, together as much as possible. And so I'm concerned about my kids and, what they can actually achieve.
Yeah,
So.
that's an interesting, as a millennial myself, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the prime, like stereotypical, grew up in a really well-off place, totally got participation awards, totally got the
Great. Now I
strikeout
offended
trophies.
the host. Oh shit.
Oh man, it's the truth, because what it does is it makes you entitled.
Yeah.
And it's honestly, like, if I'm being really transparent with you, it's really something that I struggle with still, because it was ingrained in me. And it's like, oh, okay, you tried hard. Nobody cares, like, how high you try, like how hard you try, if you don't produce anything, at least not in this world, right? I mean, we could talk about Jesus in a whole different, conversation,
Right.
but for the context of the business world, right? You're only paid off for your results. You could do absolutely nothing. I mean, there are guys who, the 4-hour work week, for example, right, where they just set up the systems and they're the owners and they get paid and they don't do anything else anymore, right? They just set something up and it's automated at this point. But their results and their name's tied to the results. And so because of that, they get paid. They create value, right? And so that's something that definitely is really, really something that is ingrained in the millennial generation. I think you nailed it. Like, it's a tough thing to overcome too. It's like, how do you do it? You have to put yourself through adversity and hard times and create, and try and solve problems and take ownership and just go do hard things. It's hard to do.
The flip side of that is I'm also not trying to teach my children that they have to work 40 hours a week or 50 or 60.
For sure.
Because that I was brought up in that construction world. We went working 4 10-hour days a week or 5 10-hour days a week. And you usually had 3 hours a day on the road, driving back and forth to job sites.
Yeah.
And I remember my dad, I mean, he's been passed for 14 years now, but I remember him saying, you put in your 8 for 8 or your 10 for 10, whatever shift you are. And that's what you're paid to do. And yes, that ingrained a lot in me in work ethic. But by the same token, I don't apologize now for being able to, host an event or host a mastermind like we do and get paid for our knowledge, where my job now is to sit and educate people, and I make way more per hour than I ever did punching a time clock.
For sure.
So I don't want people to think that, okay, you have to work 80 hours a week to be successful. You don't. And I don't want my kids to think that either. But somewhere you have to find the work ethic.
Yeah.
Before you get rewarded for the 4-hour work week. Those people had some kind of work ethic to design the 4-hour work week.
You have to build it.
You have to build it.
If you don't build it, then you don't provide the value.
There's no easy button for building it.
Yeah. No. So I think we're really aligned on that. And it's interesting because from the millennial, generation, see it all over, and I think that they, like, as a generation, the millennials are starting to figure out, like, holy crap, like, but I don't know, because they keep getting bailed out by the government and all this stuff, like, free money for kids and PPP loans and bailouts.
If you talk to somebody of your generation or younger about, your tax deferral and, all this stuff with capital gains, how many of them legitimately out of 100, if you had 100 of them lined up, how many out of 100 would give two shits about your conversation?
Yeah, honestly, like, not a lot of them. And even the ones in, like, commercial real estate that I've had, they're like, oh, that's interesting or whatever. But, honestly, like, I've also, just on the flip side, right? I've talked to people with $100 million in the bank that have that have not done it. There's a guy that bought 2 properties, one on the sand and one house removed from the sand, back in like 1988 and 1990, for like $500,000 and $600,000, like, respectively. He sold those properties for $12 million. Totally depreciated them. He owned them free and clear. His basis was basically zero. Yeah. That was almost a $4 million tax out here in California. You got the 13% state tax, right? Plus you're like almost your, for all intents and purposes, 3.5%, 3.2% for Obamacare, right? And then you have your 20% federal, right, for your long-term cap play, maybe 25% for the depreciation recapture, right? But $4 million for the tax. That $4 million could have been taken. It could have been put into any sort of investments you want, earning a return. Mm-hmm. I mean, he would have made an extra, almost $150,000 a month if he would have done that. Yeah. Instead. Absolutely. But, he hadn't heard of it before. Mm-hmm. And he didn't want some millennial who got a participation award, kind of telling him, hey, man, like, I got something really cool. Like, you should check this out because it's awesome and it'll save you a ton of money. And not only that, but you can make a lot with it too. And it'll generationally change the way you view everything from now on. And he just didn't want to talk to me. So maybe I should repitch anything, right? And take ownership for not having it framed correctly. But
I think you should. But that's the same thing with, bank on yourself. And, using life insurance policies, all these things, everybody needs to get to wherever they need to in their life or their investing career to want to hear it. Because I've been hearing about it for many years, a lot of these strategies. Yeah. I didn't always implement them because I got caught up in the noise of other stuff, right? But now, of course, we kick ourselves in the head. Why didn't we do this sooner? Hindsight is always, the 2020, but at least we do it at some point. Now I'm in the process of getting life insurance policies in all of my kids for for that type of bank on yourself mentality and to protect it. Yep. But no, I really love what you guys are talking about, and you're 100% right, and you have an uphill battle with your generation, but the cool thing is you're not the same as your generation, clearly, because you're out there doing this.
We're going against the grain.
Yeah. Well, we all do. Every entrepreneur listening to this podcast has gone against the grain by being an entrepreneur.
Yep. So that's great stuff. Cool. All right. Well, guys, you can find out more about the capital gains tax deferral solutions that we offer at capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. And you can check out our Deferred Sales Trust Mastermind, where we talk about the Deferred Sales Trust and different solutions and stuff. That's every Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. If you want, go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. Join us there. Bring your CPAs, bring your tax attorneys, bring your estate planners, bring all the people who are gonna. Next week's gonna be awesome. We're doing a live role play on the objections that we get from all of our professional friends over there, and the CPAs and the tax attorneys who might not be looking after your best interest, but maybe theirs unknowingly, of course. We don't want to project, but who knows? So check that out, and definitely go to bestreifunding.com to check out more about Derek Dombeck's Best REI Funding. If you need a hard money loan in Wisconsin, he's probably got a lot of real estate experience over there that we didn't even touch on that you could pick his brain about, I'm sure.
You have no
and
idea.
I'm not going to speak for him, but I'm going to speak for him right here. He'll probably love to talk to you and mentor you because he's probably got a mastermind and stuff like that as well. So go get the free ebook by emailing Derek at bestreifunding.com and check out the GOWvoyage.com for the Generations of Wealth live in Cancun. Any other questions?
It's awesome when people walk in, isn't it?
It's just like so. Okay. Awesome. Any final words?
I just appreciate you having me on. I hope I was able to give your guests something to take away from this, and it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, absolute pleasure. Thanks again, Derek, for coming on, and thanks again, everybody, for listening to another episode of the Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast, where we believe most high net worth individuals and their professional teams struggle to find great capital gains tax deferral options. Not having a clear plan is the enemy. Using a proven tax deferral strategy, coming to events like Generations of Wealth live in Cancun, reading Derek Dombeck's book, to be determined on the title, Best Way to Create, Preserve, and Grow Your Wealth. Please rate, review, subscribe, like, comment. We'll see you guys on the next one. Have a good one.